Good morning. This is Kathleen Clow with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. Today's fire potential headlines include continued mixed and wet thunderstorms across the higher elevations of Utah, expanding in coverage to include eastern Nevada and Idaho by Friday as that monsoon moisture returns late this week. Additional areas of breezy winds and low RH are expected across Nevada today and central Idaho tomorrow, in addition to rising and above normal temperatures basin-wide. These conditions overall will contribute to rising fire danger, especially across western portions of the basin. Current watches and warnings include heat advisories and extreme heat warnings for central Idaho, as well as the Vegas and Arizona strips, where we expect to see quite above normal temperatures. Over the last 24 hours, parts of eastern Idaho and western Wyoming received anywhere from up to a tenth of an inch to maybe up to a half inch in those darker blue areas of precipitation, as well as some of the high elevations there in northern Utah. These did come with some lightning strikes as well, and you can see that there on the right, but overall, not a lot of storm coverage over the last 24 hours. As of this morning, Great Basin has moved down to a PL3, while we remain at a PL5 nationally. Over the past 24 hours, the Great Basin had 16 new starts for a total of just over 6 acres and a large fire growth of 5,314 acres. Satellite this morning shows some cloud coverage across Nevada, but overall clear skies across much of the basin. Over the next 2 days, we expect light smoke impacts, some smoke impacts from the Shoshone fire in central Nevada there, but overall not a lot of heavy smoke, maybe some light impacts across Idaho, but nothing of too much concern. Fire danger conditions are forecast to be on the rise over the next 3 days, and you can see there is no green left on the map anymore. Most areas are in that orange and red category, which is above the 70th percentile and then above the 80th percentile, with some of our northwestern areas pushing into the 90 to 97th percentile. You can see the Boise Mountains there on the top right, where we expect to see those ERC conditions rise above the 90th percentile over the next few days and remain in that category. And then you can see on the bottom there, Northern Sierra Front, where we expect ERC conditions to push into the 80 to 89th percentile and stay there as well. For our next 3 days, weather pattern wise, we'll continue to see similar conditions where we've got some pockets of that drier air and some breezier conditions, and then also some pop up thunderstorm potential in the kind of black areas there. We do expect to see some breezier winds across the Sierra Front today, and then tomorrow we'll expect to see some breezier conditions across central Idaho, and then again some breezy conditions on Friday across the Sierra Front. Overall, significant fire potential wise, we've got much of the western portion of the basin in that moderate category just due to dry conditions, hot temperatures, and those slightly breezy areas. And then we'll start to see some moistening up across Utah as well, especially starting Friday. Major areas of wind concerns over the next 3 days include the Sierra Front and southern Nevada today, where you can see those breezier conditions in the orange and dark green, as well as central Idaho tomorrow with that portion in the orange there. And then the winds across the Sierra Front will die down a little bit before picking back up on Friday, and you can see those locally breezier conditions along the Sierra Front as well. All 3 days carry some of those gusty storm outflows as well in the pink, so that's what you're seeing there. And then RH wise, we're still continuing that warming and drying trend. You can see some single digit RHs up in the northwest portion of the basin. There across central Idaho, and really just low RH conditions across much of the basin. A lot of orange on the map, and we'll start to see those creep back up with a storm potential on Friday. You can see a little bit of recovery there, but overall still remaining in the teens across much of the basin. For our forecasted precipitation over the next 3 days, you can see still today and tomorrow the chance for those kind of scattered pop up thunderstorms, kind of mixed, some wet, some dry, but more on the dry side today. Tomorrow we'll see some heavier precip accumulations, especially in the high elevations across Utah there. And then by Friday, we'll really start to see some more of that widespread monsoonal moisture activity going on with some higher accumulations as well. But again, really that western half of the basin does stay pretty dry over the next 3 days. Temperature wise, we've got above normal temperatures and temperatures on the rise through Friday. So you can see increasing amounts of triple digit temperatures on the map going into the end of the week. So we'll be keeping an eye on those as well. Looking at our weather pattern into the weekend, we do expect to see that kind of nocturnal lightning late Friday night into early Saturday, and you can kind of see that storm potential there in the green, but we do expect the storms to be on the drier side across western Idaho, and then that will be followed by some dry air and breezy conditions Sunday and Monday, so some concerns for lightning holdovers there. We have risked that lightning on the Saturday significant fire potential map, and you can see that covers much of western Idaho there, and then keeping the surrounding areas in that moderate category. and you'll see those western portions will remain moderate throughout the weekend. And we've got some greening up happening across Utah with that kind of monsoonal push we've been talking about. We will see some recovering moistures across that eastern half of the basin there through Monday. Wind-wise, over the weekend, we expect to see some breezier conditions across the Sierra Front on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we expect to see breezier conditions across central Idaho and western Wyoming there. And then by Monday, we don't expect to have too many wind concerns at that point. RH values will be on the rise, but still dry across the west. You can still see those teens across Nevada on Saturday, as well as western Idaho there. And those conditions will persist through Monday as far as staying in the teens. We will see some RH recovery in the eastern half of the basin with this monsoonal push, so you can see some higher values across eastern Idaho and Utah, as well as Wyoming. Heading into the weekend, we expect to continue to see that more widespread precipitation from this expected little monsoonal push. Again, not too many areas of extremely heavy rain, but we will see multiple days in a row of precip accumulation across portions of Nevada and Utah, as well as much of Idaho. But you can see again that kind of western portion of the basin, northwestern Nevada and western Idaho, still remain pretty dry. We are concerned about possibly some nocturnal lightning Friday night into Saturday due to lack of precip and the existing storm potential. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. And then you can see temperature wise, we will start to recover Saturday through Monday. So we won't be, above normal and in the triple digits. We'll see some pretty moderated temperatures across the basin, still in the triple digits down in the strips, but overall much recovered and under 100 degrees for a lot of those areas that we're seeing the above normal temps. Just to summarize our next 7 days of precipitation, today and tomorrow we'll continue to see those kind of scattered, isolated pop up storms across much of Utah and some small portions of Nevada and the Nevada Idaho border. Friday, things really start to pick up as that monsoonal push comes in, and we'll see persistent day after day coverage of precipitation across portions of Nevada and Utah there, as well as eastern Idaho, and we'll see pretty much widespread precip coverage across much of western Wyoming as well. But again, just to highlight the fact that western Idaho and northwestern Nevada will stay relatively dry compared to the rest of the basin, so that is something to keep in mind. Summing up our 7 day significant fire potential, you can see that kind of western half of the basin there remaining in the moderate category, and that will expand in coverage as things kind of heat up and dry out like we've been expecting. We will also see a monsoonal push starting to creep in really on Friday with some of that higher coverage. But the western half of the basin will remain pretty dry from this, and we've got a lightning risk on Saturday, which is really kind of a late Friday night, early Saturday a nocturnal lightning event, which will be followed by, again, those kind of dry, hot, breezy conditions. So we'll maintain that moderate category across the western portion of the basin through Tuesday while we start to green up that eastern half from that monsoonal moisture. So you'll see more of those little to no risk categories creeping into Utah. For our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we expect to see a chance for above normal temperatures across much of the basin, but maybe a little bit less above normal chances for western Nevada there. And then precip wise, we expect to see some above normal precipitation across Utah, eastern Idaho, and western Wyoming, and then normal precipitation everywhere else. So still kind of remaining a bit on the drier side for Nevada and Idaho there, that western half of the basin. That concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.